there was a general moral stance that everyone understood. Treat women well, respect, things like that. That's gone, and now we're relying on a rule book. Can someone write how I'm supposed to act in this? Because no one knows anymore. It used to be inherent. It used to be intrinsic. It was a reaction, not a response like, what should I do in this? What have I heard?
If you never build a foundation, if you never have those things that are solid, you can never build something better on top of that.
But we've got a generation coming behind us that's going to rely on, things that we do, things that we say, and the things that we're going to be remembered by.
As much as you want to build up, you need to build down to your foundation. People put so much work into what is seen and they bypass what's unseen, but that's what we're building on. It takes work, and it's unseen work.
Yeah.
Are we willing to do that work? That's the big question.
Life is teaching me so many lessons here, but what am I learning from them? How do you self-test your foundations in your life? Do you think it's dangerous to self-test where your strengths are? Or is it a matter of putting yourself into situations that test it? So I wonder that if you as a man can stop for a minute and go, okay, well, I want to pursue, I want to be successful, I want to have these things. Do you think being unapologetic about it is the key?
Do you want to be average? Do you want to be above average? Do you want to stand out? I mean, are you in this game just to have a fight, or are you in this game to become the champion? It's time.
Gentlemen, welcome back to the Men's Collective Podcast, a place where four normal, everyday, average Joes tackle the big things that challenge us men into becoming better. All without the BS, just real talk by some real men. We are the Average Joes. I'm Wayne Taylor, and today I'm joined by some local legends, Mikie, Jamie, Stevo. Welcome, fellas.
How are you, lads?
Hello, hello.
Always good to have you here on a Friday afternoon. See the week out. Good time,
I'm
mate.
keen to hear what the legend is about us.
Well, I nearly took the legend out there now that I knew you're on. Thought, Mikey's back. I'll throw a legend in there, make you feel good.
Scraping the barrel. Love it.
Well, a big thanks to our mates at One Life Property for sponsoring this show. They've been huge supporters since day one. If you enjoy the show, do us a solid. Hit the 5-star review button. Share the podcast with a mate who needs it. And look, don't forget to check out averagejoes.net.au for the merch, resources, and to find out, where all our meetups are happening each week. We've decided to mix things up a bit here on the podcast. As of this week and every week moving forward, we're going to introduce to you some new segments as requested by you, our listeners. You spoke, we listened. So look, just to give you an idea on what we will be introducing, we're going to have something called the Ask Us Anything segment, which the Mr. You Know What I Mean, aka Jamie, will run.
I know what you mean, mate.
We always know what you mean, mate. You remind us.
I'm tempted to send some questions into this one.
Mike's going to be one of the random anonymous people that sends in a question.
Yeah, anonymous, that's me.
But look, this is this will be a segment during the week where we'll go through all of our social media platforms, the website, and soon to be a phone line, which you'll be able to ring up, ask a question, and I'm going to put it to the panel and give you our thoughts and our perspectives on anything and everything you throw at us. So look, feel free to start sending in your questions, and we'll also be dropping the phone number very, very soon. Segment number 2, introducing, we're going to be calling The Week That Was, which Mr. Mikie will be looking after. This is where we'll be taking the latest, hottest and trending stories from local and around the world and bringing those to the panel for the fellas to challenge, question and chat over. Segment number 3, we're calling Man vs. Machine. In this segment, we pose the same question to the boys on the panel and the same question straight into ChatGPT. We're going to then compare the answers. The aim is to see the difference between human insight with emotions, lived experiences, etc., versus the objective, analytical perspective from the wild beast called AI, and challenge the difference between the two. This is a way we challenge assumptions, spark some discussions, and look, uncover some lessons, I should say, that men can apply in their life, work, relationships, and personal growth. Or it'll show just how smart or dumb the fellas I've picked to join me every week. We're going to see as of next week how that goes. But look, segment number 4, I'm calling Out and About. As you know, Average Joes, as a movement, started 7 years ago, predominantly just with meetup groups for men all around the country and soon to be in 3 countries. Not only that, but Mikie and myself run a free community feed in Nambour each Thursday, which I'm sure if you've listened to any of our podcasts in the past, you've heard us mention it. So we're going to use this segment, segment number 4, to do a bit of a catch-up with some of the fellas from some of the groups each week and also a recap on the barbecue. Then segment number 5 is where we'll tackle our weekly topic. Our aim is to condense our topic down in time, but not in content. So this week, obviously, we can't do segment number 1 because you're only finding out about how. So look, get sending in some questions, and we'll start the segment next week with Jamie with the Ask Us Anything. So we are obviously going to start with segment number 2. Over to Mikie for, mate, the week that was.
Mate, it's been a week that's shook a lot of people, I think. With obviously the sad news starting off with Charlie Kirk, young father, young husband, a great man who was out there speaking the truth and changing a lot of lives. Sadly shot and has died for simply speaking his opinion. So what a world we live in, lads.
I got informed by my own kids. Like I sent me Instagram stuff going, "Did you hear this? Did you hear this?" Look, I remember just saying to a mate of mine the other week about Charlie Kirk. I have always admired the guy's courage and how he just stood on what he believed in, just went gun ho for it. I found sometimes in the past where I think when you're trying to portray a message, it can be sometimes seen or portrayed as a bit of ego or arrogance or that kind of thing. But as far as influential, man, that guy was in the spotlight 100%. Globally.
Yeah. Yep. Well, and I think he's now inspired a lot of people, isn't he? In his passing, he's now become, I'd call him a martyr, a modern day martyr. He was an incredible guy, and it's very sad that this is where we're at in the world. And the other topic, the young Ukrainian lady who was stabbed multiple times by a man out on bail, and everyone around just sat and watched. How's the world we live in, lads, where the men around us will sit there and let that happen?
It's crazy,
and be the perpetrator as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the first question you always ask is, what would I do in that situation? I think everyone has the right answer. You know, I would have got up and, but interesting to see that sort of play out and the reactions for both. I mean, even with the Charlie Kirk, my wife said in the morning, "Hey, did you hear Charlie got shot?" And we hadn't sort of seen too much about it. And I assumed he was okay and went about my day, and then not looking at my phone all day. And then had a young 15-year-old kid come up and say, "Hey, bro, did you see Charlie Kirk's died?" And it just rocked me because you just don't expect it. But to have such a global reach, you know, that's huge for me. Like, it wasn't sort of contextual just to his country or their issues. This is someone who connected on every level in every country with every demographic. And the thing that was singular about it was truth and morals and ethics, which, you know, unify all of us. And so, yeah, tragic week.
Yep.
I think one of the big things is that I actually never saw him be horrible to anyone. He was always just talking about what he believed in, you know? And I think that it's amazing that, you know, he's trying to influence people through what he thought was his truth, but also the example that he set and the type of person that he was. You know, he never like abused anyone, or, you know, he copped the abuse constantly.
Yep.
And sat there, you know, within his, and you know, it comes down to integrity and how much you believe in yourself and what you're doing, you know, because he believed in those strong values. He believed in having a great family. You know, he believed in Christianity. He believed in all these things, and he wanted just to spread what he believed. And it was okay if other people believed other things. He was okay with that, yeah? But other people wanted to try to prove him wrong and change him and all the rest of it. But then it links into what happened on the train, where people want to change everyone, where they're not going to, you know, take a stand, or they're not going to actually do anything about it. They want these weak people who are just going to go, yes, you go be who you want to be, do whatever you want, and I'm not going to say anything about anything to anyone. Well, that's what you're going to get. You're going to get people that are going to sit down and not do anything about something that is horrible happening in front of you. And it doesn't have to be the stage where people are getting stabbed about it. You know, it can be just even the stage where some guy is yelling at his partner or talking wrong, and you're worried that you're going to say anything to them, and then you're going to be the one who's going to get arrested. Well, that's you know, that's the society that's getting created, and that's not the society that I want.
Yep.
You know, that story with that lady, right? I thought about, because I had a chat with my two oldest boys about it yesterday, because obviously I'm raising men into not only the society and the time that we're in now, but they're going to be here long when I'm gone, right? So they're not only young boys now, young adults, but they're going to be the men of the future. So topics like this, where you see a poor, defenseless, harmless lady sitting on a bus, just, what was she going to work, going home? I didn't even know why she was on the train. Sorry, don't even know why she was on. I'm guessing, let's just call it work related. But the fact that she can't feel safe, because here's the thing too, like we don't know who we're sitting in front of or sitting behind of. Like this guy, what was he? It was 14 times he'd been put inside, or 14 times he'd been released off bail or something. The guy shouldn't be like. One, I think there's a lot of questions that need to come up as to why are these men getting 14 chances.
Yeah.
Like, even now that he's here, like, does it take something this major? Because Donald Trump's now calling for the death penalty for this guy, and so you go, well, we as society, or not even wrong phrase, not we as society, government officials, law departments, all these things that make, or we trust to make our society safe, they've had 14 chances to do something about this guy. And you think of bail, like, bail's is a get out of jail free card. What I think was $500 his bail. So someone chipped in $500 to get him out. And then all of a sudden he was life-threatening. Not only why he chose this woman, we don't know, but obviously it was life-threatening to everybody, but it just so happened to be that this lady's life got taken. But I was talking to my sons about it. And after the stabbing happened, like, he just went to town on stabbing the side of her neck. But he then walked up and down the train in the same carriage for 4 minutes. And I think to myself, I understand. I don't agree, but I understand. I understand if the situation was sudden, he stabs and run off, and everyone sits there going, what the hell just happened? But to stab and walk up and down, that means that you on that train, you had 4 minutes, probably the longest 4 minutes of your life, to
100%.
sit there and think and still choose not to do. I can understand if it's instant and you go, oh God, thinking back now, I should have done something. Okay, but what about when you're in a 4 minute gap? You ever just sat there for 4 minutes and just watched we think 4 minutes goes like that, but it's, if you're just watching the clock, 4 minutes goes for ages. And my boys, I'm going, like, what would you do?
Yep.
Because it's extremely confronting that we have a society that seems to do nothing.
Well, it's not like, you don't know what you're going to do. But the problem is that if that's repressed in you your whole life, not to stand up, that is what's going to happen. Like, this is where the courage comes from, is where you do stand up to things. And it's not, I'm not saying that stopping a stabbing is an easy thing to do. Like, but what I'm saying is that our whole lives, men are getting repressed on taking a stand or actually doing something. And it's the same as you learning anything. Courage is the same thing. It's, you start off with something small and you beat it. And then you take on a larger challenge and you beat it. And you create that belief that you can actually make a difference, So, like, because even me, I would like to think, yes, I would do something. But I don't know, because I haven't been in that situation. But I think that with a lot of the guys, especially the younger generation these days, they don't have that experience where they're like, break up a fight. You know what I mean? They don't have the experience where someone's actually being horrible to them and they don't stick up for themselves. They just take it, So I think that it's a big thing, but I think that this is why it's important for kids to be able to be angry and learn how to deal with those types of things. I think it is important for kids to actually take on a challenge. I think it is important, if you're going to get bullied by someone, you get to punch them in the nose. Because you have to take a stand. Otherwise, you're going to get beat down your whole life. So
it's interesting. Like you said, the word courage. Courage means there's a fear, right? You got to overcome a fear. What is it that men are afraid of in standing up? Like, what is it that's holding men back now? Afraid of being seen, afraid of being accountable for actions, afraid of not knowing how to deal with it. I think 50 years ago, maybe afraid of their own effort. Can I stop someone? I think these days, everyone's just afraid of the backlash and being in the spotlight and getting involved. It's easier not to And literally, because I think about how many people are on that train, right? It wasn't like there was one other dude going, crap, I've got to take on a guy with a knife. Let's just throw it out there. Let's say there was 10, 15 guys in that carriage for 4 minutes. Surely with 15, surely with 10, surely with 3, you could have done something, you know, but what is it that's fearing, holding back? I wonder this generation, I mean, there's fights all the time that go on. It's just usually on the keyboard. Young person don't know how to break up a fight unless they report it to social media. But, you know, like face to face. But seriously, like what is the fear that's holding men back? Because it's rampant.
Do you think we've been benched a little bit?
100%.
We've had this shake up of we used to be the protectors and it was our job as men to protect. Now women are strong and independent and that's great. But now what do? We've been benched and we've been told I don't need you to open the door. I don't need you to do that. I don't need you to give me anything. So we now sit on the bench and are we just rusty? Are we all just sitting there switched off with nothing to do? And then when something happens, we're not used to it. What do we?
It's like for that masculine trait that we talk often about, you know, protecting. It's like it's like a reflex. You know, the old cartoon where you know the guy goes into the doctor and he bashes his knee and his leg flicks out. It's like a reflex action. Protecting has always seemed to be a reflex action for men. You see, like, you know, you break up a fight or you see a guy hit a girl. It's like a reflex for men to step in and go, oh, you kind of like, because it's like ingrained was to be that the protector, right? But I wonder if the situation here, because there were men on that train, and I actually agree with what you're saying, right? I think there's also a fine line too where we need to be careful. Because were they men, let's just stick with the men for a moment, the men that were in that carriage, were they thinking in their heads, oh God, I don't know where I stand here because last time I tried to get involved, you know, it used to be a reflex, but now I'm just going to sit back? Or, because just on that, it's probably a bad example to give, but I remember telling this story a little while ago about a friend of ours who put this post on social media where she went to the shops, came back to her car with a trolley. She had boxes and, you know, the slabs of water, right? She had a boot open and she was lifting the slabs of water out of the trolley into the back of a boot. And a guy was like two car spaces up and he'd seen it. He goes, oh, do you need a hand? And she felt the need to make a stupid, idiotic Instagram post about it, going, oh my God, like toxic masculinity nowadays, like, come on, mate, like I can lift water myself. And it's like, we can't even be chivalry anymore as men, right? So we stand back and we sit back and we get benched from chivalry. We go, okay, like I'm not even allowed to offer it, take it.
Just to clarify, because we now have a fan club on the other side. We're not saying that the men on that train were like, fuck you, you can,
of course,
you can carry your own. Just to clarify, in case there's a video that pops up down the track. Yeah. But yeah, you're right. I think the rule book's been thrown up in the air for men, and we're still waiting for everything to land to see where we actually fit in all of this.
But do we need to wait for it to land?
100% we don't, which is what we're doing here.
Yeah, because I think, you know, I hear all these stories about, you know, sort of a bit of an older generation. They always talked about growing up, their dad taught them to box or things like that. Like there was always this thing that was passed on generally. And I mean, I grew up without a dad. Most people I know grew up with either no dad, distant dad, things like that. But all the things that seem to be normal as part of a man growing up, you drive a manual, you can, you know, change a tire, you can throw a punch and take a punch, all that kind of stuff has disappeared. Now I get that, you know, with technology and everything else, it's a different generation. There's a new normal and it's not necessarily wrong. It's just different. But the things we're expecting from our generations now are not inherent to what's being taught from being young, and I think they just don't know what to do. It's this, I feel lost. It's a new thing, whereas, you know, you put a 50-year-old in a similar situation or a bunch of them, there's probably going to be a few that would stand up and have a go just because they know it's the right thing to do. Yeah. And I just think, especially younger generation, I just think they're lost. I think they would honestly not know what their response should be. And again, as you said, waiting for it to land, or what were we supposed to do? Who's going to tell me that? Well, I think as men, we've got to go, no, what would I choose to do, regardless of what the social norms are or what's going to come, or it's just what resonates with me as a man. And I think we just don't talk about enough for people to actually understand, what do I think about that? What would I do in that situation? Most people never thought about it, let alone confronted it.
I think going back to the fear, though, I mean, like if you look at like packs, which really, society is, a working pack sort of thing, really.
Yep.
What's the worst thing that can happen to the alpha? Do you know?
Back pain.
Yeah, look,
Sore knee, that kinda hurts.
he sneezes or farts and his back's out.
No,
for a
they-
week. Yeah.
They
happens,
get,
man. As
they
a
get
forward.
kicked out of the pack.
Yeah. They lose their position.
They lose their position, but they also get kicked out and they're not allowed to come back. So everything they loved is now gone. Yeah. And I think that inherently that's a lot the same with us too. Is that we're trying to do the right thing. We're trying to keep the people we love around us. Yeah. And we just don't know. But then should we protect, should we not protect? Like, because we do something and someone who's never done a fucking thing in their life can turn around and jump on social media and tell you what you're doing is wrong when you're actually trying to make a difference. You know what I mean? And, so all these keyboard warriors out there, like, I'm so glad that they picked that up in the schools where kids are getting bullied online to the stage where, they want to kill themselves because, but these people have never done anything good. You know what I mean? In fact, they're horrible people in some cases, and they're just keyboard warriors because they're protected by that sort of stuff. So I think a lot of the time with the men's side of things is that we are worried that we're going to get, is it extradited for, is that the word?
Yep.
From our actions. Like, but we're supposed to do this, but we're not supposed to do this, but we're supposed to do this, but we're not. There's so many contradicting things out there where, really you just got to choose about what difference you want to make and what your kids want to be, because, we can see from the government they're not helping. You know what I mean? We've got the weakest prime minister I've ever seen in my life.
Absolutely pathetic. He
Do
is.
you-
100%. Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean, though? This is like, there's so much weak shit around us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When we mentioned
Vote
the word,
Jamie.
Sorry.
vote Jamie. when we talk about the they,
Don't ask me anything.
next week.
Your first call next week. We've got the Prime Minister on the line. Why are you talking crap
Bring it
about
on.
me?
I would love
That
to
was
talk.
really offensive. I can't believe it.
He wants to
believe you
talk to
said
you
that.
at the
You know
mail
what I mean?
bar.
What a question, Jamie.
Let's throw
My
him some
wife
blood.
wants to speak to you.
But you know what, though, when we talk to they, right, we talk about being extra because we as men are afraid to do this or stand up or make a stand or take ground because of, of what the backlash will be from them. Well, who's the them? Who are they? When you really break it down, I'm not targeting, but I'm saying we're afraid of what women are going to think of us.
Yeah.
That's what it is. So do we wait, like to a rule book, do we wait for the rule book to land, or do we as men go, hang on a minute, I've been so afraid and so scared and so timid that I'm going to upset you or offend you that we've sat back for so long. So instead of waiting for the rule book to land, is it a matter of, hang on a minute, we're just going to start being those men again? Because there were men in that train carriage. But obviously, I'm not giving them a way out by any means. Like I'm truly making this clear. I'm not giving them a way out. But maybe in their head they're going, well, I don't even know what to do anymore. So maybe it comes down to men like they're going, hang on a minute, this is enough's enough. If the rule book hasn't landed yet, let's just say, and it's going to come down to say, I've got to get up and do something. Because I have replayed that in my head and I've gone, I genuinely would have gotten up. And I've replayed it going, but he was walking up and down for 4 minutes with a knife. Okay, you wait for his back to turn, or you wait for a weak moment, or you throw a bag or something to distract him so he looks away, and then you do something. You don't.
You pull out
just
your
do
knife,
it.
Wayne.
That's not a knife.
Wayne just carries a spoon.
No, because
Just spoons.
a spork.
Multi-use. But I think we talk about a rule book, right? Where was the rule book 50 years ago? There wasn't really a rule book per se. It was general morals. It was understood morals that were common pretty much everywhere. I mean, Americans got their constitution. We have our own things. And 50, 60, 100 years ago, there was a general moral stance that everyone understood. Treat women well, respect, things like that. That's gone, and now we're relying on a rule book. Can someone write how I'm supposed to act in this? Because no one knows anymore. It used to be inherent. It used to be intrinsic. It was a reaction, not a response. Like, what should I do in this? What have I heard? It used to be, and that's what I said. 60 years ago, there would have been two guys up straight away throwing punches.
Yeah.
Irrespective of they're going to be done. That came from a moral code that was universal. that's been disbanded and squashed to now being told what we need to do as men, why we need to do it. We've left it to media, society, social media, certain people to now tell us what is normal for men. I think deep down, if you really ask yourself, you kind of know what's normal.
Absolutely.
There's something
100%
inherent in
agree.
us that speaks to those things, because we hear this stuff and go, someone should have done something, right? That's normal. But why wasn't it done? Because we're waiting on a rule book that we're not writing. That for me is insane.
You know what, though, and funny thing, what you just said too, that question, both men and women ask that same question. Why didn't anyone do anything? Like, anyway. Interesting week this week.
That was
lads,
the week that
news-wise.
was.
That's the week that was.
Hopefully next week's a bit more cheery. Hopefully we can find a nice puppy
With a good
picture
story.
and a...
Jamie's elected. That's man. That's
Righto, moving on to segment number 3, man versus machine. Right, lads, I've got a question for you. I've asked ChatGPT this same question before I get its response. Is it a he or a she? What do we do? Is there a gender to chat? Where does it slot in the?
There's 92 choices.
We'll call it for now. I want to ask you guys a question. I'm going to let you know.
Can we ask AI what its pronouns are?
if it has one.
Let's do it. Let's on the podcast. Let's ask it what its
Hey
pronouns are.
Siri, ask ChatGPT if it has a gender or a pronoun. Waiting.
Your phone's smoking now.
ChatGPT asks, could you clarify what you're referring to regarding gender or pronouns?
Pronoun.
A pronoun is a word used to replace a noun in a sentence.
Yeah, we know that. Oi, 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 oi. No, we know that. We know
Already
that.
deflecting.
Yeah, it's a woman.
That was a very long-winded way of saying I'm female. All right, question. Ready for it? I asked this question to chat. I'm going to ask it to you guys first. I'm going to tell you what chat says. So here it is. When men face moral or ethical dilemmas, either at work, in marriage, friends, doesn't matter what it is, how should he decide what to do when every option has a consequence? Steve-O,
Yes.
when a man faces those ethical dilemmas, how should he decide what to do when every option has a consequence?
Great question. For me, off the top of my head, it comes down to what am I prepared to live with? Because I'm the one who faces myself constantly, right? There's always going to be opinion, there's going to be right and wrong, but I live with my decisions every day. And for moral and ethics in terms of decision making and actions, at the end of the day, when my head hits the pillow and I'm reviewing myself, I want to make sure that I'm happy with the decisions I've made. And so that is a big part based on, life experience, morals, worldview, all that kind of stuff. What am I happy to have made in that decision? That's kind of my guiding space there, because I've got to live with those decisions. Obviously every decision has a consequence and an action, but for myself personally, I've got to make sure I'm okay with myself and still, not carrying shame or guilt or things like that. And that's kind of where I would look at it at the end of the day.
So how would I wrap that up in one sentence then?
I thought that
That
was
I'm
what
accountable to
ChatGPT
myself.
said.
Yeah. That I'm
PT.
accountable to myself and I'm okay with the actions and the things I've done. Like I've got to live with myself. So,
All right, I want to write that down. Got to live with yourself. Jamie, I'm going to ask you a question. Are you good to go?
All right, yeah, I'm good to go. I think it comes down to my values, and I'm going to work in line with my values, because I can't control the outcome on what's going to happen. Yeah, but I can control my actions, and if I'm acting in line with my values, then I can live with that.
Nice one. Mikey.
What Jamie said. Look, I think you'd weigh up all of the consequences and choose the one that has the least detriment to it. And I think you'd probably also take the one that ended up with you copping the worst of it.
So what if the least detriment fully opposed your strong value?
Yeah, values would have to come first. Yeah, but I look at most situations like that and go, what's going to be the least detriment to the people around you based on those values?
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
So basically, just what Jamie said.
Is that what Jamie said?
Along with values.
But the thing is, Mike, is that looking after the people you love is one of your massive values.
That's what, and
Absolutely.
that's what I thought I said was weighing it up, and you wear the brunt of it, and it's the least for the other people. So,
Right. So, question being, I know the answer. Well, I shouldn't say I know the answer.
Wayne
I know
wrote
what
the
Chad
answer.
said.
there is an answer.
Here's what
You're all
Wayne
wrong,
said.
He's
boys.
been influenced already.
Wayne GPT. Okay, so question being, when men face moral or ethical dilemmas, either at work, marriage, or friends, how should he decide what to do when every option has a consequence? So, Steve, you've gone with got to live with this. You've got to be able to live with yourself at the end of the day. Jamie needs to align with your values. And Mikey said least detriment
To others,
to
yeah.
it. Okay. So what ChatGPT said. When men face moral or ethical dilemmas, either at work, marriage, how should he decide what to do when every option has a consequence? Chat says, weigh the outcomes logically, calculate the risk, and take the option that maximises overall benefit while minimising harm. Ignore the emotion, loyalty, and long-term reputation. Do you want to know what AI predicted that you guys would say?
Yeah.
Humans, however, factor in values, relationships, and integrity, sometimes choosing a harder path because it aligns with who they want to be and not what works. Ooh, that's pretty different, isn't it?
Bam.
That's actually, that's
Which is spot on. Relationships, value, integrity.
Yeah.
Living with, like being integral to yourself.
interesting how a like a, I'm not going to say logical, like a, when we answer as humans.
So what GPT is saying is when someone gets stabbed on the train, you sit there and don't do anything.
Yeah, the logical thing is if I get up, I'm going to get stabbed too. I weigh up risk, being logic, and we sit there. So according to ChatGPT, they nailed it.
That's actually, yeah, it's a good thought.
We'd better pack up and go home, mate.
Righto, well, that was Man vs. Machine. That was actually interesting, that one. Righto, segment 4, out and about. Mike, I'll start with you, buddy. So we're going to go down to our weekly barbecue and our weekly meetups, mate. Give us a recap on the barbie this week, bud.
Mate, barbecue was great this week. Had a heap of good people. We had a lot of new faces this week.
Actually, you know what? For those that don't know about the barbecue, bring us up to speed with what the barbecue is.
Yeah, okay. So almost 3 years ago now. Or have we had our third birthday yet?
August the 3rd.
Look at that, 3 years old. Wayne and I decided that we would start a barbecue in the community of Nambour, just feeding anyone who was out and about, activate a space in the square in Nambour Town Centre, and just bring a bit of community spirit, help to those that needed it, and community to those that were lonely. And 3 years on, we're still there. We got local supporters backing us up. We got local volunteers that rock up every week and chip in and help serve. And every week we're meeting new faces, and we've made some great relationships over the years.
Absolutely.
We've
On a first name basis with quite a lot of people.
yeah, I never thought I would walk through the town centre and be like kind of hugging homeless people and knowing all these people that just random guy. It's cool. It's really cool.
Yeah.
But it was a great week. We very recently had an awesome guy donate a 800-watt party speaker. So the town square is now pumping, which is awesome. And that's kind of our call card, right? When the music goes on, people come out from everywhere. Met an awesome guy the other night, and he kind of rocked up and stuck a 20 in our hand and said, keep up the great work. And he basically just moved into town, was living in the caravan park and managed to finally get himself a small unit in town, and rocked on down. He heard the music and was like, I'm just going to come and see what's going on, and was just blown away by the community spirit, everyone getting involved, and it was just blown away, and was like, can't believe this is here. This is my new Thursday night now. So we made another new friend, and it's been great. Still knocking out the 100 meals a week. The guys at Gateway Care have continuing to deliver awesome kind of near end of life food. So we're getting awesome cakes and drinks, and we're just having a party, right?
It's good, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's free. It's every Thursday. We get there probably close to 5, 4:45, just a bit of a setup.
Yeah,
and
just
then it
before
kicks off.
5.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
it
a
up.
speaker of music. We call it different in our house. We just come down, my wife and I, we call it date night. But free meal, a bit of music. But yeah. No, I've heard awesome
Come
things.
down, mate. Come down and do date night. Your wife.
I've been there for 2.5 years. I'm the guy with the hoodie in the back, getting a free feed. That's awesome, though. Like, it's cool to, obviously play a part, but it's so much more than just some token, here's a meal. The fact that you said you walk down the street, you're still keeping that relationship up.
Yeah.
That's more than a meal. That's support, that's encouragement, that's all these things that are lacking. That's huge, man. For people who don't have it, that's awesome.
It
Well
is
done, guys.
community, it's conversation. And look, there's a lot of people out there that are struggling due to their lifestyle choices. They've gotten wrapped up in drugs and other things. And we regularly have people rock up that are not in a great way. And we spoke about it on the last podcast, but a young lady that came up to us a week or so back, and the last time we saw her 6 months ago was sorry, I'll bring it up there.
Slide the mic to your face a bit more.
There you go. She rocked up to the barbecue like in tears, skinny, gaunt, clearly was a drug user. She, scabs all over her and not in a great way. And she ate, and a couple of the guys just spoke to her. And we don't go out of our way to go and try and get in people's faces, but if someone needs to talk, we do. And spoke with her for a while, encouraged her to get into rehab, knowing that we've got no control. And she came back a few weeks ago with, and I didn't recognise her at first. She went from gaunt and looking really ill and a broken person to this smiling, full, rosy cheeks, happy, how you doing? And she's now in a position where she's been clean for 5 months.
That's awesome.
But she's now bringing her friends from the street that are involved with drugs and getting them into the rehab programs. And she's now become a mentor.
That's so good.
And you go, it's nothing that we've done, but we've just gotten there to be there and just encourage people along the way. And you don't see it often. You don't see it every week. But when you do, and you just want to cheer, right?
Absolutely, mate.
It's worth everything you do.
So that's why you do it.
Yeah, 100%. And there's so many reasons we do it, but that's just a great win.
Yeah.
And we've been there before where we've gone, I don't know, life gets so busy, me more so than Mike. Mike's there every single week. But
I've got to have dinner, mate.
you got to eat. But we've gotten there before where we've gone, oh God, I'm so knackered, I'm so tired, I don't know how long we can keep on doing this. And then we go, and then we recap after and we go, but that feeling that we just got while we were there reminds us of why we go back again the week after.
Yep.
But we've been there many, many times. But we've got some stories on stuff that's happened, near stabbings, couple of punch-ons, theft last night.
Yeah.
Lots of yelling.
Last time someone got in a punch on, Wayne ran the other way.
Sat there for 4 minutes.
Actually, remember the time I dropped that guy home and he took his ex-roommate tried to stab him?
Yep.
I filmed it. I actually had my phone. I got my phone out, put it on record and held it. And he comes running down these stairs with a knife and tries to stab him. The guy was half disabled trying to run away. And I was standing there going, oi, don't stab him. Oh, we've got some stories. But
Come down, help out.
yeah. But look, we actually meet guys that are listening and are interested and you want to get involved. It's the Square at Nambour. We're there from about 5 o'clock till about 6:30 every single Thursday. And if you are a local business, you want to get involved at all by just donating, throwing us a few bucks, or just come down and being a part of it. Just reach out to us. We can put you on a Mikie or myself and we'll hook you up. Come and see us. But we're there every Thursday. So, okay, do a bit of a meetup catch up. So, for those of you that know, we've been running men's meetup groups now for 7 years. Hence, where this whole podcast began, because our meetup groups, we have a topic every single week. Bit of a point of difference on what we're about here at AJ's, because we meet up with an agenda and a purpose, and like you hear every week from our podcast, is to walk away challenged, become better men. It's a bit of a catch-up. I wanted to give a couple of shout-outs to some groups that are doing really, really well. But all of our groups are held in Mooloolaba, Brightwater, Albany Creek, Bribie Island, Budrum, and even Pakistan, and soon to be Kenya. But, look, fantastic things. But one of the shouts I want to give is the guy from Brightwater who runs Brightwater, which is Dave Petfield. Mate, I love this guy. This guy was just a random guy that walked here once when I started the group. His one 6 years ago now. And no one turned up for the first 4 weeks. So I nearly called it. He rocked up on the very last week when I was going to pull the pin. He's now grown that to one of our most, if not our most, flourishing, rock solid group of some great legends. So guys out there at Brightwater, they meet Wednesday night, 6:30 or 7:30 at the sports bar, but doing really good. I run the one at Budrum. If you guys want to come, it's at Taps Middle Bar. But if not, look, all of our meetup group information you can get on the website or our socials, or look, just message in, and I can flick you all that details. Righto, so that was out and about. Righto, fellas, you ready for the topic?
Let's do it.
Have we got any time left?
I don't know. What did we do? We punched out some time then, didn't we? Look, the main topic for this week, I do want to stick a little bit more around the whole Charlie Kirk scenario, but I've called this topic Loud Towers. I want you to picture two men building some towers. One uses the flashy bricks, the polished, bright, admired by the crowds, but on the inside, the bricks are hollow, foundations weak. The tower looks impressive, but look, it can't endure any of the storms. The other builds with solid, heavy bricks. Not flashy, often even unnoticed, but the foundation runs deep, every seam reinforced. This tower may not catch the eye immediately, but it stands firm when the wind and rain come. Charlie Kirk, I mean, look at his life. Bold, loud, unafraid to take a stand. He was a tower that drew attention because it inspired, it challenged, it motivated. His example reminds us men that you can be bold and influential, yet still anchored in principles and purpose. The question isn't whether your tower is seen, but whether it inspires, endures, and leaves a lasting legacy. So fellas, I'm going to start with a yes or no, and then come back to yes, your reason why. Yes or no? Life's foundations, are they important? Yes or no? Steve?
Absolutely, yes.
Mikey?
Yes.
Jamie?
What Mikey said.
About time. I'll start from this end from now on. Did you say yes?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, Miles. I was just sitting here waiting. And look,
I
obviously
think Mike
myself,
said
yes.
yes. So.
Steve, why is the foundation important, bud?
Mate, it holds everything. Everything rests on that. Everything rests on that. Doesn't matter how big you build. That foundation is not secure in something that you believe in, that you hold tight to, that's intrinsic. As you said before, Jamie, that has value. Everything is eventually going to fall, no matter what you build. And I think it has to have a foundation if it's going to last. And that's, as men, that is my number one goal, that my life is seen, the lasting effect is in not just my son, but my grandkids as well, like obviously daughter as well. But as a man, that's the foundation I'm building, is that the tower is going to continue way past my generation. And I have the chance to build foundations now in me and my son that's going to last. So, yeah, if you're going to build anything, you have to have a strong foundation.
I like that, thinking futuristic, thinking down the track, legacy-wise.
I got told as a kid, you don't check if someone's a good father with their kid, you check with their grandkid.
Oh, that's really good.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's...
This guy's pretty good.
Let's get Steve back.
Hang on,
G2P.
No, ChatGPT, what was that? Do you know, for like a year I thought it was Chad? Kid you not, I was like, bro, Chad's all over it. Like, who's Chad? I'm like, Chad GPT, where have you been? Like, it's Chat. Oh, okay.
New app next week.
Yeah, Chad.
What's the Chad say?
GTP for all the Chads out there.
Checking in with the Chad.
Maybe we should call it Chad.
I'm calling it Chad from now on.
See, it'll come back.
It's Chad.
Yeah.
Sticking. We'll make it right.
Yeah.
Mikey, you said yes, our foundations in life important. You said yes. Why is that?
Look, I think if you really look at your life and you look at the areas where you've stumbled and you realise that you probably had weak foundations in that area. So like Steve said, it is really everything. Every decision that you make is deep down something that has come from deep within you as to what you believe. And it's something that's built over time. It's slow, it's strong. It's the hardwood versus the pine. The pine that could be broken so easy, but the hardwood so solid. It's slowly built. It's built from grit, determination, and yeah.
Awesome. Jamie, you said yes as well, buddy. Foundations in life important. You said yes. Why is that?
Well, I used to, with the business coaching, I used to talk about like there's three sort of areas, or there's three stages of your business. And the first one is where your like the circus act where you're spinning plates, and you've seen that guy who's spinning plates over and over again on a small little stick, and you've got your plate, and they're just running around the whole time, spinning as many plates as they possibly can. And through systems and processes, what you can do is start to build a stronger foundation on those things. And sometimes it is easier to let some of those plates fall and actually start to build a strong foundation in one area and concentrate on one thing at a time and build it as one thing at a time. Yeah. And then the second stage of that business is once you do have that strong foundation in place, you can create like the merry-go-round at the playground where the kids spin it. And you just start spinning it and spinning it and spinning it, yeah?
Other people's kids.
Well, if you're a good dad, you spin it for all the kids. But anyway.
They're really fast. Hey, kid, hop on.
Yeah.
Someone's banned from the park.
Yes,
Right.
that's why I can't go there.
Place your bets.
500 feet within parks anymore.
For that reason.
But
Only.
the point is, though, is that merry-go-round, right? It still takes effort. Yeah, but because you've got that strong foundation there, it can handle a lot more. And it's just you just making that one effort and continuing around. And, it's from the book Good to Great, but they talk about the flywheel, where old engines used to have a flywheel, and that's what kept everything in place, and that's what kept the momentum going. And you just have to keep putting input into it, and it'll keep going. Yeah. And then eventually, through better foundations and through, actually creating energy coming in from other sources, you can create the carousel where it's actually flowing, and then and it's running by itself. But what you're doing is the maintenance, and what you're doing is the repair jobs and that sort of stuff. But that all comes from creating a foundation. And if you never build a foundation, if you never have those things that are solid, you can never build something better on top of that.
Yeah, totally agree. I actually forgot this story if it happened, but I'm going to tell you guys a story. It's actually 20 years ago now. When I used to live in Sydney, live in a suburb called Cambridge Gardens, and we bought the cheapest house at the moment. Lisa and I were just married, and we bought this house for $220,000, right? Which is, God, can't even get a
Bargain.
plumber to come to the house now and I'll block a drain for less. Anyway, but we bought this house.
2,000,
Every step. Isn't it bigger the front door, bigger the bill? You rock up and big front door, big bill. But anyway, we bought this house like 220 grand, and we stayed there for we were there for about 2 years, and we decided to do like an extension and renovation because we wanted to have kids and stuff. But this house literally was a rectangle. Like there was no shape to it other than a rectangle. Literally was like a piece of paper, a rectangle. Hence why I wanted to, do extensions. So anyway, I had plans drawn up, and the plan showed a big extension, the same size as the house directly off the back. Then we put another double story on the top, and then we put a garage to the side, right? So we tripled, if not a bit more, size of the house. When we had a drafty design it all, sent it off to an engineer. Now, for the engineer to approve certain stuff, he wanted to come out and have a look at, where it's at. And he came out one day and he's had a look around the house and have a look around. And he slid underneath and saw where all the piers were. And he left him with a task. He goes, the whole back run of the house, right, end to end, it was 11 metres, I remember exactly. He said, mate, can you dig from the brickwork down to the ground, and can you expose and see if you can find the footing for me? I said, yeah, no worries, mate, we'll come back tomorrow. So I just got the shovel off, and I dug down. I went to the brickwork of the house. I dug straight down, and about 100 mil below the ground, I hit concrete, right, found the foundation. So, nice solid hit. So I exposed it, and it was only coming out. So where the bricks came down, the overflow of the foundation was only about 4 inches, about 100 mil long, right? And I exposed it, and then it was all dirt. And I exposed it all the way along the edge of the house. The engineer comes back the next day, and he goes, oh, yeah, sweet, that's perfect, mate. And I said, what does this mean? He goes, we're going to use that overhang to build your back extension from. And I went, you serious? I said, we're not going to put a new foundation. He said, no. He said, this has been built to take on what else you're going to do. He goes, the foundation's good, it's strong. We're just going to tie the house into that back part and keep building. And it got me thinking, right, just what you said, Steve, at the start, right, when you build onto things like with family and with legacy and stuff, the fact that the house had a strong foundation, nothing needed to be altered. The house was able to be added on and built bigger because the foundation was built back when to handle it, right? And I think, without a doubt, as men, I think you need to forecast ahead to not just, like there's that Bible verse that I was mentioning to you guys before about where it says, a wise man builds his house on the rock, whereas a foolish man builds his house on the sand. Because you hitting rock, I'm in construction, you guys, I'm a plumber, we build houses. And if you hit rock, if you're drilling piers into the ground and you hit rock, you stop. You don't need to go any further because the rock is counted as something rock solid, right? That's what they call it, rock solid. You drill down, you hit rock, boom, you stop. There's your hole. There's no more depth. You're in sand, you get a full specification from an engineer to go, right, mate, we're in sandy area. I need 8 meters or I need this. Like it's insane because of movement. And it makes me look at lives of men and us where we go, you need to forecast not just what's going to look good or feel good or do good for you personally, but we've got a generation coming behind us that's going to rely on, things that we do, things that we say, and the things that we're going to be remembered by. I also believe that doesn't mean just because if your fathers before you have been, piece of shit, doesn't mean that you need to be, that you could start afresh too. I've had this conversation with my wife many, many times. I love my dad to death, right? But I look at my family, not including my dad here, I look at my family from the other line, the other lineage, and there is such a mess. It is a mess whichever way you look. You don't even need to lift up a rug or lift up a rock. You see messes clear as day. And I'm so grateful that I've gone, you know what, I'm going to start afresh with me. I'm going to build a strong foundation so that my kids can look back on. But I think as men, the importance of building a foundation is it's always your come back to point. When there's trouble, when there's winds, when there's storms, you can always come back to, and you often don't, hang on a minute, but when I come back here, this is where my morals are. When I come back here, this is where my ethics are. This is who I am. This is the foundation I've built as me as a man. I can come back to this. Because that's the thing that people can't take from you.
Yeah.
You can't take your foundations.
Absolutely.
They're there.
2 things from that story I heard is 4 inches is enough. And the other one was, think about, 50 years ago, they put something in place. It's always overspec'd. It's always overspec'd. These days, it's what's the minimum I can do to get away with building, right? But if you're going to go buy a house, what do they still test for? We check the foundation strong. Everything else can be fixed. Everything else can be changed. Everything else can be altered. Foundation's the big one. And you think about big buildings, you put a foundation down. As much as you want to build up, you need to build down to your foundation. You watch a property with a slab there for months, or working on a foundation. And then in like 2 weeks, there's a frame, it's roofed, it's walled. The work is in the foundation. And I think people put so much work into what is seen and they bypass what's unseen, but that's what we're building on, and I meet people all the time that don't want to put the work in, don't want to learn, don't want to read, want everything quick. And I think it's great that you're building something, but it always comes back to what are you building on? And people just don't want to put the work in because it's unseen. It's the stuff behind the scenes. It's the stuff that's personal. It's the work we don't want to do. But that's what's important. That's the big thing. It's the foundation.
Yeah. The building thing, like when I lived on the Gold Coast, my office was literally pretty much just across the road from the Q1, which is at that time was like the tallest building in Australia. Now, the time they spent on the foundations in that, was like 2/3 of the build from my recollection. Like I can remember there was everything around there and they were just working in there on a massive hole, like, you know what I mean? Like getting everything right and all the rest of it. And then it just seemed like the building just popped up. You know what I mean? It was like growing every single day. So, yeah. And I think there's a story about bamboo, Chinese bamboo that does that. Have you heard that before?
Yeah, it takes like 5 years to sprout, and then in a year it grows like 5 meters.
Correct.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's funny because being in construction, the way claims are built, so we're the builder, when they're putting all their claims forward to an owner to get paid, the very first payment, other than a deposit, but the first payment is what they call a slab claim, right? You get your first payment when your slab's done. And the reason being, if you have no idea about construction, you're just driving through a brand new estate, you see vacant blocks of land, then, out of nowhere, what might seem out of nowhere to you, you'll see a little concrete slab, and then all of a sudden there's a payment claim. You're like, but it's just, you've just put a bit of concrete down. Like if you knew the work to go into the prep.
It took a plumber 3 hours to put that pipe in the ground.
and then they hit rock. That's a
Then he stopped. That'll do.
Went home.
whole addition.
But the reason there's a claim right there and then is because what to the naked eye might seem like a little piece of concrete or some, naive people call it cement, but what looks like this little tiny piece of cement put on a bit of grass, and you're going to get paid already. If you knew the work that went into to get that foundation or to get that slab there. Yeah. And I think without a doubt, that is the most important thing as men. And we're starting to repeat ourselves, but the key is in the foundation without a doubt.
Just to sum it up, if I can, this is the way I think most people look at it. We envy people's houses, but we don't envy the work put into the foundation. Like that's what we're chasing. Look at that guy's house. Talk about the foundation. Oh, no, it's too much, right? I think that's a massive issue in today's society. We envy the house, but not the foundation.
Yeah.
We want what they have, but we don't want to put the work into what they've done to get that.
That's a really good point.
We really want to just bypass all that. Look at business, look at relationship. Like, oh, how did you get that? It seems like it's overnight success. Well, it was 10 years of hustling at work and learning and growing and everything else. But that last year, they built something that everyone goes, oh, I want to do that. Like coaching, Jamie, you'd know the same thing. Like it was like, oh, I want to be a coach. Look at your life. Yeah, well, it's 15 years of hard work, learning, setbacks, everything else, building. But what you see now, you envy what I've got, but you're not willing to do the work to get to where I have. And that is the foundational piece.
Yeah.
I think where most people fall undone because we quickly try and build what we can see. And as you said, rock and sand eventually will just fall. The first storm that hits it, it falls over and we blame everything else. No, this, as men, let's build a strong foundation, everything, our mind and our body, in our relationships and our business. It takes work and it's unseen work.
Yeah.
Are we willing to do that work? That's the big question.
It's spot on, mate, because you can use that analogy right there and there about anything and everything within their life. I mean, like you look at marriages. People look at people's marriages and go, oh, man, if I have a marriage like that bloke over there, what? You think those are just perfect men and women over there? The work
He just
that's gone
chose
into
really
that.
well.
Just remember, doesn't matter how hot they are, someone out there is sick of her shit.
Jeez, Jamie. Now we are getting cancelled. But it's nice. This is why a lot of people, when you look at wealth, right? If you see men win lotto, gone. Yeah. 1, 2 years gone. Why? Because there's no effort to get to that point. But you look at people, oh, he's worth X amount. Oh, well, mate, I wish I had some of that. Well, if you knew the hours, if you knew the blood, sweat and tears, if you knew the sacrifice, if you knew this to get to that, building the foundation, 100%.
Do you know there's never a rich man that's won lotto? They don't need to buy tickets. They've done the work. It's only poor people that buy tickets.
Yeah, you're right.
And they get it and they squander it. And you go, oh, that's a shame. No, they had no idea about money or wealth or work or anything. Rich people don't buy lotto tickets.
I'll tell you one thing, because it was something you were talking about before about the loneliness side of things. Maybe we should put more effort in building our foundations on friendships.
Oh, 100%.
Because the fact of the matter is that when you do hit a tough time, it's your mates.
Yeah, that's the Rio.
That are there
that's
right
the
beside
Rio
you.
running through it all.
Correct. Yeah. And some of us sacrifice our mates for, flash things, glittery things, careers, screw people over to get ahead, like all this sort of stuff. But, I think we do need to realize that sometimes having that group of mates around you is super important because there is times where you're those guys who lose their wife and they've got nothing because, they haven't done anything with their mates. They haven't, what I mean? They've done whatever they're told their whole lives and all of a sudden they put their whole life into one person and then they do have nothing. So I think that building those foundations of gaining great guys around you is super important.
Spot on.
We made a statement before, Steve. I'm probably going to have to correct me here because I'll probably get it wrong again. But before we started recording, we're saying how, don't let your something take you where your character can't. What is it?
Yeah, don't let your talent take you where your character can't keep you.
That's right. Yeah, and it's funny because talent you can learn. You can pick up a sport very, very quickly, right? But character's not as much. Character's...
And it fits the analogy perfectly. Talent is what is seen, character's unseen. So talent is above ground build, character is below ground foundation. And again, if your talent is built on something that your foundation, your character can't hold it, you can build it. It's not that you can't build on it. It's just that the first thing that hits it will probably rock it. So yeah, it's I work with a lot of young kids and I always say, because I all play footy, and I say talent will get you contacted, but character will get you contracted. That's the lasting piece. And I've seen so many kids with brilliant talent throw it away over dumb stuff, just haven't got the character, but they think the talent will take them to the top. I'm like, it 100% will. But that fall down on the other side will be as quick as the rise up if you can't hold yourself at that place. And it comes back to what are you building in yourself? Yeah. And that's character.
It's actually, I remember having this conversation with my wife probably about 2 years ago. Big fan of NRL, rugby league, love it, right? Big fan of it. And it's a big thing in our family. We all love watching it together. But it's always surprising me when you watch immense talent, like amazing, top 3 player. He's probably on a 4 or 5 year contract, X amount of dollars, but he's unreal. But on the weekend, he gets caught drink driving, or he gets caught slapping his missus, or, there's so many stories that have come out. And then you see his contract get torn up. And you go, I can't believe they're letting him go. Like, he's their number 1 scorer. But then you go, the talent got him there, but the character is where he's flawed. Yeah. Yep. And you see other teams try to get him because they know the talent, but you go, but the guy's character's just been revealed. The guy has no self-control. Yeah. The guy wants to blame everybody else. The guy gets given, an inch, wants to take a mile, get all these things. Why would you want to take somebody? He might be the fastest runner, but he misses 3 out of 4 games because he's locked up or he's coked off his head and it's massive. I always blew my mind, They let go of such big talent.
How does that guy build his character, though? Because that guy's a talent, right? And the other team trying to get him, are they going to build his character?
When I look at character building, I look at it from 2 perspectives. I think you have to, without a doubt, no one can build your character for you. There are things that can build your character, but it's when you take ownership of what you... Because I have this conversation with my kids quite a lot. It's one thing for me to teach you. The most important thing is what you learn. Because you sit in a classroom, 30 kids and a teacher. A teacher is that very thing. They are a teacher. They teach things, right? But why does every kid get different grades? That's the one teacher standing up there, reading out of the same book, writing on the same blackboard or whiteboard nowadays, but you've got 30 kids.
Is that systemic racism, or is it...
Oh, I've probably done something here.
What
have I done wrong? I've probably said something wrong in this, haven't I? All right. No, but let me finish my point, right? You look at one teacher teaching the exact same thing, but 30 students learning something completely different. And I think when it comes down to character, it's all about what you own yourself. Hang on, life is teaching me so many lessons here, but what am I learning from them? Because you and I can experience the exact same thing in life. We can both bump into the same person, but I walk away with a whole lesson out of that and you miss it. So I think it comes down to you as an individual, but I think it's also you got to surround yourself. And I use this.
Thank you.
Well, sorry, mate. You go, Miguel. You're right.
Well, that's
what Jamie said.
That's exactly what I was thinking. It's about also who you surround yourself with. Like, yes, you got to make the choices to do it, but it's also who you surround yourself with. Like, one of the best business books out there, which I can't remember the name of, but it was based on the culture of the New Zealand All Blacks. Do you know what I mean? And the character of those guys is, as you said, you see the NRL guys doing stupid shit all the time. You barely ever see an All Black do the wrong thing. And it's because it's built on things like, you come in here, this is your jersey. Your job is to leave the jersey in a better place than when you received it. Yeah? Your job, it doesn't matter, the most senior people on the team are the people that stay back and sweep out the sheds. You know, they've got all these lessons and expectations and things that they're held accountable to that builds that character over time. Character is built through going through challenges and overcoming them and understanding the lesson in it and having the support of the guys around you afterwards. Because sometimes a lesson isn't learnt until it's debriefed with other people around you and you get that light bulb moment. Do you know what I mean? This is the reason why in sports you have a coach, is because you might go out and do something amazing, but the coach helps you understand how you did it so you can replicate it again. So yes, we make the choice. It's also who we actually surround ourselves with, yeah, and it's also the expectations of the people that, of people that probably have been there and done that, who are actually giving you the advice of it as well too. That's how I think we build.
Yeah.
Discover multi-award-winning real estate with podcast sponsor One Life Property Group, based on the Sunshine Coast, Queensland, specialising in everything from high-end duplexes to multi-residential developments, ensuring the highest quality workmanship. Visit onelifepropertygroup.com.au today to achieve excellence in your next property development.
And character's unseen until you see adversity. It's adversity that reveals the character. Like, you can say to anyone what your character is. Doesn't mean anything. When there's adversity, it's revealed whether you like it or not. And you see it on a footy team too, who steps up and who has a dummy spit about something stupid or, you know, all that sort of stuff. So I think, you know, you need to build it because it will be revealed somewhere. In everything you go through, any adversity will reveal your character. And if you don't know what it is, go through a hard time. It'll reveal itself and you know where to build. But yeah, it's who we are when we're unseen. That's our true character. The things we do when no one's watching, the things we do that's never going to be broadcasted, what we do in those moments when no one knows what we have done, that's our true character. Yeah. And that comes back to, again, that integrity piece. Here's a pillow at night and no one else knows. Am I okay with that? That's the foundation I'm building.
Yeah.
And I think it's important, as you said, is it's not set in stone. You can build on that. Do you know what I mean? As we said, this is foundations, and foundations are to be built on. But we build those foundations, you know, and we can keep going back and doing that. So just because you're a 30-year-old guy and you don't have the character that you think that you want, or you get found out or something like that, that's an opportunity for you to change, you know, because no one's perfect. You know, this is the whole thing of Average Joes, is that we're not telling people we're the best, we're better than you, we're doing all this sort of stuff. It's like, hey, look, here's some things that we've learned and we want to be better and we want to challenge people to be better. You know?
It's funny, how many times have you heard that saying, you know, like you're in a conversation with somebody and, you know, really test their character. Oh, you know, this will really test their character, this will really test him. And you see somebody come off and they do it with flying colours. And then you hear them talking to go, oh, mate, you know what it is, mate? Growing up, my parents used to always say, and you hear it start with something like that. And you go, right there and then this man's revealed that, you know, majority of his character, who he is today, can be referenced back to, yeah, well, mate, my dad always brought me up to whatever, or my mum used to always say whatever, and it references back. And I think sometimes the danger in that, because as much as I love that, the dangers in that is that you think that as a man you are today, although you have so much you can reference back to, referencing back to that doesn't need to be the ending point. You can make those shifts, those changes your whole life all the way through. You know, you can meet a man and go, oh, yeah, mate, well, I read this book just last week and it was whatever. And you see men change. Well, what I'm trying to say is you as a man can gradually change. It doesn't need to be always referenced back to what you learnt in the first 5 years of being born. You can, as a man, educate yourself, learn, push yourself, become better, train yourself. Because one of the things I wanted to ask you guys is like, how do you self-test your foundations in your life? Do you think it's dangerous to self-test where your strengths are? Or is it a matter of putting yourself into situations that test it?
Good question. I couldn't tell you, mate, to be honest. I think you only know that once you've failed. And that's when you have another go. I guess it's like I use the words character building all the time when I've had a rough day, when you're on a job and you're getting flogged and you're getting on with it and you're just character building. Let's just keep going. There's so many levels to it.
What are you thinking? I'm a big believer that people should want to progress and be better. Like, I think it's an inherent, I think it's in humans' DNA to want to explore and do more. So, and I think that's lost. I feel a lot of the time when you're sitting in your comfort zone, you're actually going backwards because you're not improving. Other people are evolving around you and you can get left behind. So I would say that, yes, you should challenge yourself, but you got to challenge yourself at the right times. And I think it all comes down to confidence, because confidence is such an important part, because confidence is the motivation behind you wanting to become better. You feel like, yes, I can do this. You know, the comfort zones of, you know, you've got the comfort zone, you've got your learning zone, but then you've got your danger zone. And if someone steps too far in the danger zone and really stuffs up, that's going to bring them right back to the comfort zone. In fact, the comfort zone can even shrink. So, but if you can stay in that learning zone and challenging yourself, and you know, as we said the other podcast, we're talking about treat life like a game. Okay, I'm on this level and I'm trying to work out how to get past this level. Yeah, okay, that didn't work. So let's try it in a different way. Okay, cool. Now I might need to go invest in some sword or some shield or some other rubbish, whatever the gamers do, you know. But okay, now I can get past that level. You know what I mean? But that investment is you buying a book and working out how to do it. That investment is actually going and challenge yourself with like a weekend away and learning something. That investment is listening to the podcast. That investment is actually talking to people in a situation, finding a mentor and someone who's in the situation that you want to be to. That's the investment in real life, you know? So I think if your confidence is down, work on yourself, get yourself some wins in the small stuff that you're doing right now. But as soon as you start to feel that, you know, you're not progressing and that you could do more, that's your sign to go, okay, let's try it. Let's expand that comfort zone slightly. Yeah. And if you feel like it's getting too much, that's okay. Just stay. Just learn the lessons you're learning at that time, or take one step back. Just don't give up on everything, you know? Yeah. So
just hearing you talk about that before and all this context you've had before, might be controversial, but I would just put it down to, if you have no desire to build, then I'm going to guess you also have not laid any foundation, right? Because we talked about big buildings. If you're going to build 50-story, you need to know what you want to build before you can work out what your foundation is going to be. You don't just go, oh, stuff, we just happen to build a foundation for a 60-floor building, but I'm building a 2-bedroom duplex, you know, and overspec it. You have to know where you're going. And if you're not trying for anything, I dare say you've probably got a pretty weak foundation because you haven't needed it to be tested and you're not building it. You have to build it, but you need to know where you're going to sort of work out, am I going to be able to do this? So the only way to find out your limits is to push past them. And people who have no desire, no goals, they're just comfortable, content, happy in that comfort zone, there's no reason for foundations because they're not building anything that's of value. And again, if you're a dad or a husband or a business owner or a sports player, whatever it is, there has to be some level of you wanting to build something that's great to then take in effect that I need to now establish a foundation that'll hold that. And I think they work together. You don't build a foundation and not a house, and you don't build a house without a foundation. So they work together well. And I think, as you said before, Jamie, having a good friendship circle to sort of push at things like, what are you aiming for in your business? How do I be a better dad? If you don't understand where you're going with your life and have no desire to build, why need a foundation? And this is where people, maybe coming all the way back to the start, sitting on a train or a bus, aren't building something credible enough to need a foundation, and that's where it's revealed. And so for me, it's a real thing about, you know, moving forward, what are we building? If you can't tell me what you're building, then I could probably guarantee you probably don't have a hugely strong foundation because you haven't needed to build it.
Do you think there's men out there that have got the foundations for a 60-story building and have stopped at a 2-bedroom?
Well, I would put that question back to say, if you are willing to build a foundation for a 60-story building, unless there's been a massive incident, you probably, if you've gone that far, you probably would build it. I don't see anyone who would build a 60-building foundation for the sake of it. If you're going to put that much effort into the building, it's because you've had a reason, probably.
So then do you look at men and you go...
All the time. Oh, sorry, there's more of that question.
Damn, that was just half a question, mate. I hadn't finished.
Damn it, Chad.
That's the snippet we need to make a reel out of.
That's the reel right there.
Do you look at men?
It. Yes.
Do you look at men? Yes.
Well, you look at men. Okay. We've covered that. We've established that. Do you ever look at men then and go, that guy has got so much potential, but you see him not living up to it? In other words, that
all
guy's...
the time. Even in myself, yeah. All the time.
guys, why are you talking about me?
This is an intervention.
We got you here today.
But when you look at building, though, bring it back to the building, there's all the time you have an investment group that spends all that money building the foundation for a 60-story and then goes bust and can't finish it.
Yeah.
Is there things in life that happen where you have put the hard work in and all of a sudden
that derail what you've done?
Something's happened. The rug's been pulled out. Your
Death,
wife's
injury,
left you. Something.
Absolutely.
Well,
How do you get back on track?
That's the danger zone. Do you know what I mean? And I think something really important to understand is the pain of regret is going to be is worse than the pain of failure or the pain of getting rejected or the pain of, actually having a crack, and it not reaching the limit that you thought you were going to. Like the pain of regret is the worst thing that you can have because now you can't do anything about it. So, and you know, and I've seen those guys who bitch and moan because they're living in housing commission places and the government's not supporting it and their pension has been dropped. But they've never worked really properly in their whole life and they never put any money away. They just thought people were going to look after them, you know, where, you know, you have guys who have given it a crack. They haven't reached the level that they want, but Jesus, they've got some good stories. And man,
and again, revealing that character, adversity revealing character, and that's where we come back before we said, but you can always build. And I think there'll always be something to reveal it. And I think that's a really normal scenario for a lot of people to go, I actually had big goals, big dreams. I started with a good foundation. Something went wrong. I think that can be quite normal. It's what happens in that moment that reveals the true foundation, the true character, that we can keep building and go through that adversity. And I think that's where you have the choice. Do I give up or do I start again? Do I give up or do I get help? You know, and I think, again, it's a revealer of true character. Because for me, true character is like, man, okay, we fell down. You only fail when you stop learning.
Yep.
Right? So failure is not the problem. It's the fact that when people go, I've failed, I'm stopping. And that, again, that's just revealed character. So I think it just keeps, you know, in that cycle, keeps coming back around to they all intersect really well with each other. And there's always a point to reveal, to grow, to build, to reveal. I think we'll be building character till we die. I don't think it's something you build and you go, I've nailed it at 23 and then I'm out there. I think we'll be building forever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Better rethink my game plan.
build a stronger
I thought
foundation.
it was done. No.
Look, touching back on the story here of Charlie Kirk right this week, for someone to have, and thinking, you know, in the analogy of a big tower, his morals and who he was as a person, he was extremely unapologetic about who he was.
Yeah.
Extremely unapologetic. Like, you could stand back and you just watch one or two videos of him and you knew exactly where he stood because he was so forward. He wasn't backwards in coming forwards about who he was as a person. You knew exactly what it was. And it makes you look then at those kinds of people and you go, if you stand back and watch successful people, most of the time they're unapologetic about who they are and what they stand for. Like, they're actually out there with it. So I wonder that if you as a man can stop for a minute and go, okay, well, I want to pursue, I want to be successful, I want to have these things, do you think being unapologetic about it is the key?
Yes. Is the short answer, yeah.
This wasn't the yes or no, mate, okay.
No, well, I think that's enough.
and he's not going to apologise for it.
He's not.
You're not going to make me feel bad for my convictions.
Great word, I think, conviction. Yeah, comes back to that. It's something deeper than what does everyone want me to believe? It's conviction. I think they work hand in hand. I think it builds together. But there has to be a point where you go, this is what I believe, irrespective of what you're going to say, and that's conviction.
Yeah.
And I think that's where you become apologetic, where you know your convictions. And I think that, yeah, as you grow in competence, you also grow in confidence to go, yeah, this is who I am.
Well, I think that the conviction comes in having a cause greater than you. And in Charlie Kirk's case, that was his faith in God. And without that, I don't think he would have been a fraction of what he achieved in his short life. Like, you look at, for a man at 31 to achieve that much, and when he rattles off Air Force One, the president, you look at all the people that he's helped build and encourage and influence. All of that was because of a faith in something bigger than him, a cause greater than yourself. So I suppose, how do you find that? If you're not a man of faith, of some belief, how do you find that? Where do you start?
Well, I think part of that is there's not enough men out there that actually look at their values, that look at who they truly are and who they want to be. Do you know what I mean? And that's the great thing about religion, is that it can give you a guide on how to do it, you know, but you don't have to do that. Like, I ran successful businesses. I had integrity. I knew who I was, you know, before I found Christianity. Like, I wouldn't say that I'm a better person now because of that. Like, I still believe the same things about myself and about my integrity and what I stand for who I am type thing. But it's just something I chose later on. It made more sense to me. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. But I think it's about doing the work and looking for the answers and actually having enough balls to go, this is the person that I am or who I want to be. You know? Mm-hmm. So, and I tell you what, I actually found, because when I was younger, I was a little bit of a fence sitter. When I was younger, I used to actually have that pleasing personality. And it wasn't until like I started those businesses that I actually went, no, this is who I am. Mm. And this is what, you know, that was probably the breakdown of my marriage, where I was like, no, I'm not going to, you know, I know who I am now. Does that make sense?
Identity, strong sense of identity.
Correct. Yeah. And I think that not enough, there's too many wishy-washy people out there not asking the questions of who do I want to be? What do I want to believe in? Because guess what? It's okay for you to be wrong. Because some of the best things that have ever happened to me in my life is me thinking that I'm right about something and getting proven wrong. And it's not a conversation. It's something I've learned over time. I've met someone who changed my whole perspective, that caused me to be wrong, that made me a better person.
Mm. When you think about young people growing up, it still happens now. The number one question asked to every 14-year-old boy is, what do you want to do? Right? No one is asking them, who do you want to be? Mm. It's not even in the frame. It's not even thought about. But when they aren't the person, when they step into the role of what they're doing, then they're criticised and slammed for it. But no one's asking a young man, who do you want to be? Not even think about that. Like, when does that get challenged? But what do you want to do? All the attention goes to that. In other words, what do you want to build? Not what do you want to build on or build from? And that's the question. Identity. I get it all the time with young people. Identity and purpose. They're always going for purpose. I'm like, don't worry about your purpose until you know who you are, because that'll fall down anyway. You know, even asking yourself that, who do I really want to be? If you can't answer that, spend some time on it. It's a hard one. Get a friend to sit with it. It's really confronting, but until you can know who you want to be, don't even worry about what you want to do, what you want to build, all that kind of stuff, what the scene areas. Work on who you want to be. When you get that locked in, you'll find what you want to do will come naturally.
Mm. You're spot on, mate. I got a job. I'll close with this story. I've got a job at the moment that I'm quoting for this lady. Remember a couple of weeks ago we did that topic about hidden rust, right? Mm-hmm. The damages of water. Like, water can be the very source of life-giving, but it can also be the detriment to, you know, a rusty car. I've got this job I'm looking at the moment with this lady's house. Actually, I think you know the house, Mike. It's in Mountain Creek, Amberjack.
Yeah.
Right, there's this house.
Oh, jeez.
And I've had to go out there and inspect because massive, huge cracks right on the right-hand side of the house. Huge cracks are showing, right? And the house is only 6 years old, I think, 8 years old.
A little bit longer. But yeah,
okay.
The work is phenomenal. Right,
huge cracks all the way down. And when you stand at the front of the house and you look at it and you investigate all the cracks, you can actually see that the right-hand side of the house is actually dropped in the ground and it's falling away from the house, right? We've come to realise that the whole stormwater line down that side of the house has been damaged, right? Not only that, the water from the park next door comes in and all this water sits next to the foundations of the house. Because the water has sat there for so long, the foundations have dropped. And because the foundations have dropped, now the house is bad, right? So many people are going out there, how do we, you know, originally thinking, can you patch the cracks, right? And you can patch the cracks, but
that was literally what I got asked
2 days tomorrow, they're going to be back again.
This? Your house is falling down.
And this is what you can fix with paint.
Well, this is some of the dangerous things that a lot of men do, is that they try to do some patchwork. And regardless of what it is, gyprock, render, face brick, it doesn't matter.
You can hide it.
We have
a little bit.
Yeah, we have attempts to try and right. But I think this is where we need to encourage men that there is a solution when foundational cracks begin to show. It's not a write-off. And there's this thing, right, just thinking metaphorically again, but you can get this house underpinned, right? You can get underpinning done, which means they can come and tunnel under the foundations and underpin it and reinforce it, make it strong again. And I think it's important for us to know as men that, yeah, you might have cracks starting to show in business. You might have cracks starting to show in marriage. You might have cracks starting to show in your relationships. It might identify that there's something wrong down below, but it doesn't mean it's a write-off. The worst thing you can do is patch it, but it doesn't mean it's a write-off. If you can, one, find what the damage is and which way we did, which was the water, but to understand that you can reinforce it and make it better again. Because I think there's a lot of men out there that write off things because there's been cracks in their foundation, or people have exposed cracks in their foundation and written them off. But metaphorically speaking, you're not a write-off. 100%.
So what you're saying, if there's problems down below, you can fix it.
Thank you to our next sponsor.
Viagra's our next sponsor. Thanks, guys. But yeah, anyway, really, really good.
Yeah.
Lads, anything else you want to add?
No, I think, that was quite good. It's tragic about what happened. I think we're going to hear a lot more people speaking up about right and wrong, and and I guess the hypocrisy of where some people are saying, "Oh, you're not allowed to do this," but the same people are going out and abusing other people. But I think it's just tragic that it takes something like that to happen for people to stand up and start talking and saying what they actually believe. So.
Yeah, mate, this rocked me this week, and I think tragedy is the right word. I think the second tragedy is in 2 weeks, people will have moved on and forgot all of these things we're talking about today. We just move on with life, and I think that's going to be the next tragedy in 2 weeks. People will just be more worried about what they're eating for dinner that night and what's coming up on the weekend. And I think this is a really good time to take stock and actually stop for a second and go, what does this mean to me as a man? And I think it's a really good place to pause for a while until we can get some change. But big week.
Mikey, you want to add anything about?
Mate, I've seen from what's come out of today or the other day, when it's done right, like Charlie did his life very well, and now he's gone, the encouragement that you see so many people now are sitting back and thinking, well, hang on, we've lost a big force here.
Absolutely.
And I think it's now encouraging a lot of men, women, everyone to actually, how do I pick up some of that loss? So I think we're going to see in the coming weeks and months, so many more people are going to go, a great light's been extinguished here. How do we brighten our light and fight that good fight that he was doing?
There's one more thing that I want to say about character. Like, a lot of people start watching our podcast and they go, "Oh, it's too long." You know what I mean?
Never heard that before.
But the people who are actually stayed to listen to it right now, that shows you've got character, because it shows that you actually want to get every single bit out of this that you possibly can. You know what I mean? And so I want to say thank you from all the boys about you having that character to want to be better, because that's what we are about here at Men's Collective, the
absolutely.
podcast.
No, well said, buddy. Well said. Well, look, guys, thanks for joining us here for another episode of the Men's Collective podcast with the Average Joes. Hit up our website, find it in the meetups, come up and check us out at the barbecue, grab some merch, all those things. We're happy you enjoyed it this week. Thanks for joining us, lads. Thanks again for being here, and you guys are legends.
Thanks, boys.
Thursday.
Cool, yeah.
So fun.